Hi, I'm Beth from Sew Country, and today's tutorial has been on my to-do list for a while. I'm going to be sewing up the Wanderer wallet. This is by Moments by Liz. If you are a member of her Facebook group, you will know that she has been struggling with some health issues and she's currently in the hospital right now. I had reached out to her to see if I could do some tutorials to kind of help the group stay active while she is recovering and healing from the pretty serious health issues she's been dealing with. She agreed and was excited for it. This is the first tutorial for her that I'm going to do. I will do others as we go along, but I really wanted to try to get this one out as quickly as possible. So this is a raw edge wallet. And I sewed this one with cork. The one I'm sewing today will be with vinyl. So when I open this up, you can see it opens up to a traditional wallet. Here are your card slots. Here is the pocket for your cash or receipts. We also have a little hidden pocket back here. I thought this would be perfect for business cards. And then we even have a coin pouch right here. Super cute, super cool. I feel like it's a really unique design, and it comes together pretty quickly, so it's not a very time-consuming project. So let's go over the pieces we will need to complete this project. The first thing you're going to need is your main wallet piece. You will only need one of these. That is going to be the piece that you see on, let me open it up here, that you see here and that you see here. It gets folded, and so that's why you can see it on both sides. So in a sense, it'll end up like this way. So if you use a directional print, it may be a little frustrating to you because at one point something will be upside down. Okay. Then let's talk about the credit card slots. As you can see, they go in different sides, so you actually get two pattern pieces. Instead of her telling you, hey, mirror 3 of these, she gives you a pattern piece for each. So you'll need 3 credit card slots that slope downward that way from the highest point of the left down to the right. And then the other ones will be sloping down to the left. So that is 6 in total. And this would be a great place to use a contrast if you wanted to. I think that would be cool. This is the pattern piece for the coin pouch we're going to construct. We only need one of these. And this is for the flap, only one of these. So you can see this is a really great scrap busting, quick cut project. We don't have a lot of pieces to cut on this one. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do some top stitching. I'm going to take out my credit card slots and I'm going to top stitch the top of each of these. What is considered the top is the angled portion. So if you can see, the bottom is flat, the top will be angled. So I'm going to top stitch across the top of all of these pieces, so 6 in total. Now, when we're talking top stitching, usually when I say top stitching, I mean 1/8 of an inch away. Since this is a raw edge pattern, she does say in the pattern itself that the seam allowances, there are none because we're not turning anything. So for this, we will be sewing everything pretty much with that 1/8 of an inch top stitch. That's typically what you do with a raw edge. You're only top stitching, even though some of the pieces are connecting, because everything shows in the end, so all your stitches show. I will be back stitching on all of my top stitching, but if you're someone that likes to pull your threads to the back and tie them off, you can do that as well. You just won't see me do that. That's just an extra step I don't do. So I'm going to top stitch all 6 of these. Then I'm also going to take out this coin pouch and I'm going to top stitch around each of the edges. So I'm going to top stitch on this side, top stitch here at the bottom, top stitch on this side, and then I'm going to top stitch around this flat piece. I won't do anything on the sides here or in the middle. So that is the top stitching I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and get started with that, and then we will come back for our next steps. got these pieces top stitched, I'm going to take this coin pouch and set it aside. Just as a quick note, the flap and the coin pouch, they come in different shapes, so you don't have to use this specific shape. She has 3 different options, so you can change yours up in case you don't like that shape. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out that main piece. She tells us in the pattern directions as how far down to draw lines for the placement of your credit card slots. But she also gives us the pattern piece with everything marked. So what I do is I take my pattern piece and I just poke a hole into the areas where the lines intersect. So I use those intersecting lines to poke holes for the dots. I then transfer those dots over to this pattern piece. I take out my credit card slot, my first one, and I know that it would go right like this onto that pattern piece. Let me use my stiletto. Each dot will line up with one of these corners. If that gives you trouble, you can draw lines all the way across. You can connect the dots. When we place it, let me go ahead and place all of them so you can kind of see how it looks. The next one we'll place will go the opposite way. Like you see how this one slopes down this way, this one will slope the other way. And then we will have this one sloping this way again. So they will be, it's what will help us provide that contrasting look there. Now we start with placing the top one. She tells you can put a row of double-sided tape along the bottom and then use that to put it directly on that line. I don't feel I need that since I'm taking it straight out of the machine. So what I just do is I just put that clip right there. And then when I get over to my machine, I make sure that I line up, it's still lined up with those dots or the line if you decided to draw a line. And then what I do is I just top stitch along that bottom edge, not the sides. We're leaving them alone right now. You're going to top stitch right along there, making sure you back stitch at the beginning and the end. So let's do that, and then I'll show you how we'll place the second one. So my first credit card slot has been placed on there. Now I'm going to take one that slopes in the opposite direction and put it on those same dots that I made to line mine up. Now I want to try to make sure they line up on the edges too. So while I place them on the dots, I look, say, okay, is it straight? Is everything lining up on the sides? Once I feel comfortable, then I'm just going to top stitch across that bottom as well, back stitching both sides. Again, my sides are going to stay open, only on the bottom and my sewing. So now I have my second one attached. We are going to go back and do another alternating one on that last line or set of dots you've made. And when I place it there, again, I'm going to make sure the sides look good, put a clip, and I'm going to top stitch on the bottom of that one as well. Now at this point, this side is ready for me to, I'm only going to add 3 on each side, so I am ready to sew down the sides of both of these. I prefer to feed it through my machine this way so I can go over every edge smoothly. If you sew it the other way, they may caught and kind of roll under a little bit. So sew down each of them, back stitch at the beginning and the end. So this side of credit card slots are complete. That's all we do. I'm going to repeat the same process off camera for this other side, but you do it the exact same way. So now I have the credit card slots stitched on to this main wallet panel. Now I'm going to turn this panel over. We're going to make a series of lines that the pattern gives us the exact measurements for. From the top, we're going to draw a line. This line we're going to go ahead and fold down and top stitch. So I'm going to fold the raw edge directly to that line I just made. And she tells you to use double-sided tape, but if you know me, I'm not a fan of double-sided tape. So I rarely use it unless I have to, and in this situation I didn't feel like I had to. I felt like the clips did just fine on it. So now that I have this folded down, I'm going to go ahead and top stitch it first. The top is top stitched. So now let's look at this other line. This line will be drawn the same measurement as the top one was, but this one she tells you could put a row of double-sided tape. If you put your double-sided tape there, just wait just a minute before folding it. And then also, you have another line to make. Right here on this edge, she gives you the measurement for it, so go ahead and do that. And she tells you to put another row of double-sided tape there. Again, do not take off your paper backing. So those are the two marks we make on the back of this one. Now let's set this piece aside for a minute, and let's pull out our coin pouch. You should have already top stitched your edges on this coin pouch. This is going to be considered your flat part, so this is our top part. When we flip it over, what I did was I drew some lines here so you could see that clearly. This is considered our fold lines. It definitely helps, and I'll tell you why. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crease this side flap here, and you can see I'm just making it even with the rest of the wallet here. Do the same for this side, and they should meet exactly in the middle. See how they meet? And then we're going to fold up this bottom on that line as well. Right now what I'm doing is I'm just creasing this. She says if you have materials that you can iron or put on a heat press, that would be great to even set these creases. But I'm not going to put my vinyl, even though I know my vinyl could handle a little bit of heat, I'm not going to do it on my heat press. It's just not worth the risk to me, and it's not that important. So I am just creasing. So this is what my coin pouch is going to look like. So now I have those creases. I'm going to open this back up. Those lines that I drew, like I said, are the fold lines. We are not stitching. When we stitch this to our wallet, we are not stitching on those fold lines. What we're going to do is we're going to stitch on the inside of those lines. The pattern tells you how far to measure in. She tells you to draw another set of lines. You can do that. What I'm going to do is I have a foot on my machine that's going to be this exact measurement in. She tells you to draw the line. So I'm just going to let my foot edge stay right on this line while I'm sewing around this box. If you don't want to do that, if your foot's not that exact measurement, draw a second set of lines, that measurement on the inside. That would be your stitch lines. When we're doing this, we're going to make sure we back stitch at the top and the bottom. We don't need to go over this side because we're going to use this top part for that little hidden pocket. So this part stays open. So that is how we're going to do this stitch. She also tells you if you want, you could put a row of double-sided tape. So now we're going to attach the pouch to the wallet. A couple things I want to point out. You should either have one or two lines drawn, but make sure that yours is drawn with something that can be easily taken off. I did use a friction pin because I knew chalk wouldn't show up, so I will be able to get that off there, but just be careful with what you use on that because you would be able to see it from the inside of your pouch. Also, I wanted to show you, I had not folded this edge down. If you remember, I drew the line, but I hadn't folded it down yet. I was going to wait. But I did want to show you that whenever we're placing this, we're centering this on here in this the bottom portion of this wallet. So you may want to clip it back just so you can get your measurements taken into consideration on that. If you want to go ahead and fold it with the double-sided tape, you can. You'll just have to peel back a little bit when we add the flap. So I wanted to point out those two things. Use the pattern measurements for the placement of your coin pouch. Your flap will be hanging off of the wallet. The bottom will be on the inside. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch away on the inside. So away from this line I drew using the seam allowance, the measurement, whatever you want to call it, given in the pattern, but it'll be on the inside. And I will stitch the 3 sides, and that will be what will attach this coin pouch to my wallet. Okay, now that we have that sewn on, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, here's the hardest part of this pattern. We're actually making this pouch. So it's not like horribly hard, but it is a little finagly, a little tricky. So what we're going to do is, well, I start right here and I pull up these sides, match the tops, and I'm going to put some clips there. She says that you can use some double-sided tape if you wanted to. I didn't find I needed to, but I did find it tricky and I had to go slow and take my time. What's the trickiest part is when you take it under your machine, things want to slip. So you just kind of got to smush and not be worried to smush things to get it to fit the way you want. Of course, your flap's going to be longer than this side, so you're just going to sew it to where it meets. You're going to have that gap there, and that's completely normal. So this is what it's going to look like. I have the 4 sides. I'm going to sew all 4 of those sides. I'm going to start with this first one right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to push everything out of the way. You know, you got a little bit of gap right there. I'm going to push everything away, take it over to my machine, and just kind of smush it. It's not going to look pretty at this point, but it will once we get those stitches made. And then I'm just going to take a few stitches and back stitch, and then go all the way down. You will have a little bit of clearance there to get that stitched down. So the first one is done. I'm going to repeat that for the other 3 and get those all stitched into place. So we just finished sewing up this coin pouch on the side. So now what we need to do is teach it how we want it to lay. So we're going to push down that top, push down that flap, and kind of press to give the vinyl some memory there. I'm going to put a clip or 2 just to kind of help it. Now, the next thing I did was I went ahead just so I could understand where I want this line to end. So that line that I had drawn, I just folded that top edge down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this wrong sides together, but I want these credit card slots to not be, I don't want the edges to match. I want them to be a little bit lower. She tells you exactly how much lower you want it to be in the pattern. I match up my sides exactly though. But that top, the credit card slots are a little bit lower. I'm going to put some clips there so I can show you what I want to look at next. So now we have this. The way this wallet will close then is the credit card slots will be inside and everything else will be lined up. The coin pouch will be on the outside. Our flap is going to attach on this other side and of course wrap around here on that side. So what I want to do though, and she says this in the pattern and I really find that it's hilarious, but every time I made this, I've had to trim my flap down. And she says in the pattern that things have a tendency to grow. I don't know why, but every time my flap is too big. So what you want to do is after you have it folded, check your flap against the sides. They should be even. Every time I've had to trim a little bit off my flap. So go ahead and check that. Once you check and you trim if you need that your flap is even, then you can choose to top stitch around these 3 sides. We don't need to top stitch here because this is where we'll connect. You can even do a double row top stitching if you wanted to. Where mine's white, the top stitching doesn't even show up that well, so I'm just going to do a single row and leave it like that. So now it is time to attach the flap. What I do now is I have my wallet wrong side up. I'm going to have my flap wrong side up. I went ahead and put a layer of double-sided tape right against that line I drew on the side. I am not putting double-sided tape at the top. I don't feel I need it, but this part, I feel like it is beneficial here. You could get around it, but for this video, I just want to show you this so it'll be a little bit easier. So what I do is I take that flap and I'm going to put it right in the crease where that fold is from the top, and I want to have it directly on that line I made. Then I will fold down that line at the top. If you use double-sided tape up here on that long edge, you'll just need to gently peel it up to stick your flap underneath it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and top stitch down this long edge. So all along the top, I'm going to top stitch there, and then we will go on to the next step. I will be top stitching from the exterior because that is the side that's going to be most noticeable. So now at this point, this is what everything looks like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and fold these edges together. If you remember, the credit card slots are going to be a little bit lower than that top edge. They don't meet exactly at the top and the bottom on the long edges. They do meet exactly on your sides. So let's go ahead and put some clips in here to get everything lined up. Okay, so this is what we have now. This is the inside. This is my exterior. What I'm going to do is I'm going to top stitch down both of these short edges to close this wallet up. I also like to top stitch along the bottom. That is a personal preference. It doesn't do anything except for aesthetics, and I feel like it makes it lay a little bit flatter. And then I'm going to top stitch down this other short side, and that will be what attaches the flap. So for me, I will start here and go all the way around this wallet. I will not top stitch the top because that is where the cash will go. So let's go ahead and get this finished up. Back stitch well, of course, at your top and bottom. Okay, so I have that top stitch. Now, you'll want to be careful when top stitching around this coin pouch that you don't get it connected in any way. So just take note of that. Okay, the last thing we need to do besides trimming up our threads is to fold this part in half. So there is your flap, your coin pouch right there. And here is your flap. Now, the pattern tells us about using spring snaps, and I do agree. I think spring snaps would be best, but I don't like installing spring snaps as much as I do cam snaps. They're way easier for me. So I am going to attach the cam snaps. So what I do is the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the cam snaps to the coin pouch portion, and then I'll do it to the flap. So the way I do that is I take my awl and I find the center point and I just poke it through. Now when I poke it through hard enough, I'm going to feel it go through that flap, but I'm also going to feel it make the little indentation on this under part of the coin pouch because I'll need a hole in both and I want to make sure they line up perfectly. That's how I establish that snap marking portion. And then I will pull that back up and do the same thing with the flap. Now you can use the pattern for her instructions on how, but I just kind of eyeball things like this and it works perfectly for me. So I make that hole, I push it hard enough so it goes through this other coin pouch flap. And then now I have both of those markings. And so I'm going to install my cam snaps and then I will come back and show you my finished wallet. Okay, I attached my snaps and now everything is done. This wallet is so cute, so quick. And even though I used a thicker vinyl, look, the thickness is not bad at all. You could put a D-ring on this to make it into a wristlet or something of that nature, or even something to clip onto your keys when you're in the store. But I like it just like this personally. And I think I'm going to make just a matching purse to go with this. Not for sure yet. So here is my credit card slots. Here is my cash or receipt slot. When we come over this side, we have that nifty little hidden pocket there, business cards, whatever. We can open up our coin pouch and put things in there also. So quick, cute, easy scrap buster. This wallet's great. I hope you make one. I hope you consider joining the Moments by Liz Facebook group. She does a great job with keeping the group positive and just funny. She's always posting funny things in there. It's such a cool group. Everybody's very supportive. And plus right now she could use the extra support, and she's done a great job supporting us. So join the Facebook group even if you're not ready to sew the wallet. Look at her other patterns. I will be doing more on this channel. I love her patterns. I think I will have another one of her patterns coming out in the first week of May. So stay tuned and you'll see that. And I hope you have a great day sewing.